And it's so wonderful to be here today. It's not a coincidence that I'm here on 4th of July. You understand that there are no coincidences in God's plan. This is divine order, that I should be here celebrating with you. I will say that I have a 4th of July outfit with the little flag and the whole thing, but it's in a box right now. So I'm here without all of that, without all the trimmings, but it's so good to be back. It's just a wonderful thing. In fact, when I arrived in California, when I arrived on your campus, on our campus, I kissed the ground. I was just so happy to be back in California. They say you should never leave California because you can't get back in. And I tell you, I was beginning to think that was going to be true for me too, because I just wanted to get back into California and I couldn't do it. You know, when I graduated from ministerial school, I had come from California because I had been a school teacher in Bakersfield, California. And I wanted to get back in. And all the California ministries went to men and married men in those days. And so there were no, and I kept saying, I'm not going anywhere back to California. And I graduated in May. By September, I was still there. I was working for AU's, for the Association of Union Churches, that's what they called it then. And I was working as a file clerk for $4 an hour because I refused to go anywhere but California. And finally, this church in Ohio opened up. And the director, Glenn Mosley, it was his church, and he called me into his office and he said, why don't you go try out in my church in Ohio? I said, I'm not going to Ohio. I'm a California person. I'm going back to California. So the rest of the story is that I spent the rest of my life in the Midwest. It felt like the Mideast. The Midwest, and then finally found my way back. And when my daughter passed away 4 years ago, I left California because I felt like I needed to heal. So I went to this wonderful place called Hilton Head that looks like San Diego, except it's humid and it has bugs. So it's similar in a way that it's beautiful and it's got the ocean, and I spent 4 marvelous years there, but then I wanted to come back to California and I was experiencing that same thing. Well, can I get back in? Because there really is no place like California. So it's wonderful to be back and to be here with you, and I feel like I'm home again because this is where I started from. So it's that complete circle that has brought me back. So I'm very, very excited. And of course, tomorrow is going to be the 4th of July, and it's a day when we celebrate freedom. Freedom, the wonderful freedom that we experience here in our country. We have, according to our Constitution, 3 basic freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of peaceful assembly. And even though we have all this wonderful freedom, a lot of us don't feel free to be who we really want to be. Free to be expressed as ourselves, to express fully and completely as who we are. And I used to think that freedom for me, when I was a young mother, a single mother with 3 kids, that freedom would be when they all went to school. So people would say to me, oh, don't worry, once they all get to school, because I had 3 babies in diapers, before they had paper diapers. And we lived in New York, and we lived in a place where I didn't have a washer and dryer, and so I would have to cart those diapers to the laundromat, those dirty, smelly diapers. People, young mothers, don't even know what we went through today. But at any rate, for me, freedom, I thought when those kids grow up and they get to school, I'm going to be free. And then they went to school, and I didn't feel free. I still felt a lack of freedom to be all I could be. And then they became teenagers, and then I thought, oh, when they get to college, I'll really be free. And when they got to college, I felt lonely. The house was empty. I didn't know what to do, so I didn't experience the freedom that I thought I would have. And I discovered the hard way that real freedom comes from 2 things: the Buddhist concept, acceptance of what is, and Jesus' concept of non-resistance. And if we could do those 2 things, accept what is and not resist what's happening in our lives, then we experience that inner freedom that just moves us through life and that has divine order working through all our affairs, and that really gives us kind of like a miraculous miraculous existence. People look at us and go, wow, how do you do those things? Because you learn to accept what is and not resist what's happening in your life. And so once I stopped resisting the struggle, because it seemed like such a struggle to be a single parent raising these kids, because I was young too, and I wanted to go out and have fun and play like all the other teenagers my age were playing, and I couldn't because I had kids to take care of. Once I stopped resisting the struggle, it became a fun, wonderful experience, and everything flowed beautifully, and life changed. You know, I'm a student of the Course in Miracles. Is anybody here a student of the Course in Miracles? Raise your hands. Oh, good. Well, we'll start a group, or I'll join yours, or whatever. But I've been a student of the Course in Miracles for a good 20 years because I really love what it teaches. It teaches that all there is love, and that if you can just love enough, miracles happen in your life. And so it says, you make what you defend against. And by your own defense against it, it is real and inescapable. By your defense against it. In other words, when you resist it, when you don't accept it, it becomes real and unacceptable. And then you feel trapped in this prison of circumstances that you can't seem to climb over. To defend against anything is to resist evil. That's why Jesus said, resist not evil. Because when you're defending against anything, when you're fighting it, when you're struggling, you're resisting it. And when you resist it, you make it bigger. You make it worse. You give it power to work against you. And, you know, if you resist your debts, what happens? You start focusing on how broke you are and how you don't have anything, and then you start getting a greater sense of lack because it works against you. And you start feeling like hopeless. Oh my God, I'll never be able to climb out of this because it becomes so big. You know, we say in Unity, where your attention goes, what happens? Energy flows. Let's say that together. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So what happens is that whatever you place your attention on, you're giving it energy. And anything you give energy in your life grows, and then it makes things worse. If you resist the drama of a failed relationship, whether it be with your child or your partner or your spouse or a friend or the minister, if you resist that, what happens is you attract more of it. You attract more rejection. You attract more abandonment because you're resisting evil. You're resisting it, you're making it bigger. You've all heard that. What you resist, what? Persists, right? So if you resist something, it just makes it more real for you. You resist a job opportunity that you lost, and by focusing on the fact that I should have said things differently, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have done this, and what happens is it becomes bigger and greater in your life, and it's harder to find another job. And what happens also is that then you attract more of those same people who betray you or who talk about you. You get the same boss with a different face and a different name. And you find the same people that are just wrapped up in duplicity and disillusionment and betrayal surrounding you at work. Because you have made it bigger and worse than it is. You've made it so real that you can't get away from it. In his book, The Sermon on the Mount, Emmett Fox says, as soon as you resist mentally any undesirable or unwanted condition, you endow it with more power which it will use against you. Hear that? As soon as you resist anything, what do? You empower it to work against you. And then he says, and you will have depleted your own resources to that exact extent. What a powerful thing that we create our own world, and that we create whatever it is that's happening in our lives by resisting, by giving it power, and letting it work against us. If you lose a job and you start affirming, oh my God, I lost that job and I'll never have another one, instead of affirming something wonderful, you will never find another job. But if instead you begin to affirm, nothing is lost in spirit, the perfect job is moving toward you now. You start to shift the energy around you, and you start to attract to you that job, that perfect job that you want to see happening to you. And it's true with a relationship as well. If you want a relationship in your life, you can say, I'm poised and centered in love, and I attract the perfect, loving, accepting relationship into my life. You have to go for an interview to get a job instead of worrying, oh my God, what if I don't say the right thing? What if I don't do the right thing? What if they don't like me? What if they don't like the way I'm dressed? Instead, you just center yourself and you say, I go to meet my good. I know, I remember, I express perfectly. And then walk in, sit down, and watch what happens. That presence and power in you starts to speak through you, starts to work through you, and you become very, very impressive. That's why Jesus said, resist not evil. That's what he meant by that. And he said, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. And whatsoever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. The nice thing about unity is that the Bible is our basic textbook. But we don't study it literally. We study it metaphysically, which means that we give it power to help us work in our lives. And so metaphysically, the earth means the world. It means the existential existence that we live. It's the world around us. That is what the earth means. And metaphysically, heaven means the mind. So anything that you think in your mind, that's heaven, metaphysically. And to bind means to hold on to resist, to give bad energy to something. And so when Jesus says, anything that you bind in your world, in your life, the circumstances of your life, you're binding it in your mind. And so it's becoming very real mentally. And once you do that, then of course you're resisting. You're holding on to what you don't want. Imagine holding on to what you don't want. Usually we want to get rid of what we don't want. When I moved recently, I had so many things that I couldn't stand to part with, but I did. I got rid of it. I went in my closet and I said, what haven't I worn in the last year? And let me tell you, that was really a hard thing to do because there was some really nice things in there, but I loosed them. I let them go. I gave them away. I gave away closets full of stuff that I said, okay, I don't need it anymore. I'm not going to hold on to the old. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to lose it. So to lose it means to surrender, to stop resisting, to stop holding on to stuff that doesn't serve you anymore, that doesn't help you in any way. That's why in his book, Conversations with God, Neil Walsh says, it is not struggling that the process proceeds. It is not in struggling that the process proceeds. It is in surrendering that the victory is won. So letting go, loosing, and letting go is surrendering. That's exactly what Jesus meant when he said, loose it, let it go, surrender it. Say, you know what, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to be hashing and rehashing that relationship. I don't need to be beating myself up because I didn't get the job I wanted to. I don't need to be worried about this and that. I can just be who I am right now. Stay right here and accept what is as the Buddha teaches. Just don't fight it. Let it be okay, because whatever is happening right now is supposed to be happening. You know, an interesting thing happened to me yesterday because I was expecting, you know how you make these plans for your life and you think that it's perfect and everything's going to work out perfectly? So I had this wonderful plan. The plan was I was going to stay at the church until the 11th when my furniture was going to arrive. So by then I'd have time to get settled and get to know people and do all the things I wanted to do. And then by the 11th, the furniture would arrive. Then I'd have plenty of time to go look for an apartment. And everything was going to be perfect until I got a call on Thursday telling me your furniture will be there on Saturday. And I said to the company, you cannot bring my furniture here on Saturday because I'm not ready. I don't have a place. I can't do it. He said, sorry ma'am, but the furniture will be there on Saturday. So I called Diane, and Diane Diane, we got to find a storage place immediately because my furniture's arriving and we've got to store it somewhere. So we found a nice storage place and paid the money and made arrangements to put the stuff in storage on Saturday. And as we're leaving the storage place after we've paid everything, and meanwhile, I'm really working on the Buddhist concept of accept what is. It is what it is. I don't know why this is happening, but there must be a good reason for it, so just accept it. Let it be okay. And I look at Diane and I said, Diane, you know what the real miracle would be? If we could find me a place, like, before Saturday. And she got her little phone out, and we came to the office, and we started looking, and said, well, let's go check that Hancock Village place. And we had 2 or 3 places, so we checked all of them, and I fell in love with this little tiny apartment, 600 square feet, but that's all I need. I'm coming from an 1,800 square foot house, but 600 is good, and I fell in love with it. You know why? Because it was new. Nobody's ever lived there, and I said, I've never lived in a place where just my energy is going to be there. Nobody else's energy has ever been in this place. So we found this perfect little place, and I signed up, and the furniture arrived yesterday, and we got it there. And I moved in. I'm not unpacked, but I moved in. Now, why did all that happen? I'm not quite sure. I think maybe so that we could manifest a miracle of finding the perfect place in one day. Who ever heard of such a thing? But we did. We found the perfect place in one day. And so when something happens in your life that just kind of, shifts everything, because nobody really likes change, but changes everything for you, stop and say, what is this about? There must be some kind of lesson in this. There must be a pony in there somewhere. And just accept what is and let it be okay. And just know that whatever is happening in your life is happening for a good reason, even though you don't really know what it's about. I will say this, it's a tremendous sense of relief for me to know that all my stuff is here. I don't have to worry now about going to a storage place and renting another truck and getting it out of storage and all that stuff. And then, of course, the truck arrives. Now remember, this is my first Sunday, so I was planning to spend all day Saturday preparing for this. And they said to me that they would be here at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I had to have cash. They didn't want to check. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, I am at Wells Fargo to get cash for the movers. And I opened the door, and there's a line that comes almost outside the door. I thought maybe there was a celebrity in there speaking, and people were alive. Now I'm coming from Ohio. I'm coming from South Carolina, where there's 2 people in the bank at a time. And I said to the last person online, is something going on here? And he said, no, we're just waiting for the tellers. I said, this is the teller's line? I started counting. There was 30 people on that line. And I had to be back here by 10 o'clock, supposedly. The truck was going to be here at 10 o'clock. Well, to make a long story short, I didn't get back here by 10 o'clock. When I got back, there was no truck. And then the truck didn't arrive till noon, and it got stuck in our driveway till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because it went up, and the trailer truck got stuck, and poor Barbara had come over here to do something, and she couldn't get out. She couldn't, her car was trapped, she was trapped in the yard. So she took pictures for the newsletter, the next newsletter. And in the end, I got back here at 6:45, everything was done, and I was so exhausted, I was asleep by 8 o'clock. I didn't even eat dinner, I was too tired to eat. And I woke up early this morning and did my preparation this morning, and it all worked out just fine. So I want to end with an affirmation. I will always try to end with an affirmation to try to help you to remember that this stuff really works if you work it. And so the affirmation is, I claim my independence from the circumstances of life. I am free to be all I was meant to be. So I'm going to say this in 2 parts. I claim my independence from the circumstances of life. Let's say that together. I claim my independence from the circumstances of life. Now I know that every one of you you right now is going through circumstances that you'd like to be independent of. And so what that really means is that you are going to loose it and let it go. You're not going to be focusing on it. You're going to stay in the present moment. And if you have to have a reason, say, I don't know what the reason is, but there must be a reason for this, so I accept it. And then that makes you free to be all that you were meant to be. So I am free to be all I was meant to be. Let's say that. I am free to be all I was meant to be. And so it is. And so we let it be. Yes.